I'm Cheryl Grace, corporate executive and founder of the lifestyle brand Powerful Penny. When I started my career, no one would help me. And I vowed that if I ever became successful, I would make it my business to mentor others. I've done just that for 20 plus years. And what I know for sure is that names change, but the challenges rarely do. So join me as I mentor 5 professionals in real time on Live from the Pink Couch. Who knows? You might just discover a solution to your career dilemma.
Hey everybody, it's Cheryl. I am live. Yay, we made it from LinkedIn. And for those of you who didn't get a chance to join us last week, or actually 2 weeks ago, just to give you a bit of overview about what we're doing, I'm Cheryl Grace. I am a corporate executive by day and a mentor by night. I started the lifestyle brand Powerful Penny LLC 2 years ago because I really wanted to help young people and people of all ages get to their next level of best in their lives. And so Powerful Penny, on Powerful Penny, we actually have 6 pillars that I provide a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of insight, a little bit of help and support, as if I were your sister, your mentor, or, even like your auntie. And those 6 core pillars are relationships, they are prosperity, looking and living a fabulous life, living a Diva Lux life, and career, right? And this Live from the Pink Couch actually falls under the career pillar. And so what we're doing is in real time, we are mentoring every second and fourth Sunday of each month, 5 mentees who are ranging in ages from 20 to 55, from just beginning their career through starting all over again. And so each of these ladies, right now they're women. They don't all have to be women all the time, but right now we've got 5 great women, and each of the women have 5 very unique attributes that they're trying to achieve, aspirations that they're trying to achieve for their careers. So let me share who they are. We've got, we call them our next level tribe, and they are the newbie. Now, the newbie is Maya, and she's just started out of college. She just graduated. And we also have the hopeful. The hopeful is Rebecca. Rebecca is in transition. She was laid off from her job, and she's looking at finding another job. And then we have Miley. Miley is our rising star, and she's been at this game for about 16 years, and she's ready to be a VP. And we have Darsh. Darsh is a college graduate, and she has been working for 3 whole years. And Darsh is excited about launching her own business. And last but certainly not least, we have Jacqueline. And Jacqueline is our 2.0 mentee. And she actually has worked a full career and is ready to start her new career when she graduates in May. So those are the 5 women that we're following right now. They're each going to join us today. I'm glad that you're tuning in. If you're tuning in, you're either watching us from Facebook or LinkedIn or Live from the Pink Couch YouTube, our YouTube channel. So thanks you guys for joining. I'm very excited about this. And without any further ado, we're going to start off. We're starting off today with Darsh. You're up first. So just to make sure we're recapping, Darsh actually, as I shared with you, has a degree, and she has a desire to own her own restaurant. So each episode, I'm assigning homework assignments to our mentees. And what you're supposed to do as part of these homework assignments is get a little bit closer to your overall career objectives. Now, I encourage you guys to go to mypowerfulpenny.com website, because there you'll be able to follow each of the mentees individually. You'll also be able to find their homework assignments there after today, and we'll be providing the updates. And if you missed the last episode, you'll be able to watch the episode number 1 in its entirety on powerfulpenny.com. So Darsh, her pink elephant goal is to open a casual street fair Indian restaurant or food truck by the year January 2021. And her homework assignment was to identify at least 10 restaurant owners and or food truck owners and arrange an informational interview with at least 3 of them. And she was also assigned to share her business plan when she met with them. So Darsh, okay, I gotta know, did you do your homework? I feel like move that truck. Did you do your homework?
Wow, this is actually super exciting to kind of learn a bit more about that. So connected with a vegan fast casual Mexican food truck owner named actually, Nisi out in Austin, Texas, but has his roots out in Chicago as well. So was super cool to learn a bit more about that, but also connected with more of new restaurant owners as well in the Chicago area for the 2 other people.
Okay, so what'd you learn, Darsh? How much does it cost to start a restaurant or a food truck?
For sure. So it's kind of around 200,000 range with regards to kind of what it takes to open up a brick and mortar. Obviously, you either get to own the building or you lease the building. So it's kind of what you're looking to do and how much investment you really want to have within the restaurant. But with food trucks, there's a lot more zoning opportunities that come because there's cleanliness that needs to be maintained within the trucks as well as kind of where you're parked. So, you need to get approval from the city as to where you're going to be parked, or if you're in, say, a Walmart shopping center, you need permission from that store to be parked there too. So it was kind of interesting to learn kind of more of the costs associated with owning a brick and mortar as opposed to a food truck. Obviously, it's cheaper, I guess, with initial investments to open up a food truck, right? All you have is a small team and the trailer that you're responsible for, but more investment with a brick and mortar. But what I found interesting, at least, was with the brick and mortar, way more long-term stability, because you have kind of recognition between being like, hey, Chat is out in so-and-so location, and, it's not like people are on the move to kind of figure out where you're going to be the next day.
So there's not one set location.
Sorry, what's that?
There's not one set location for a food truck.
Yes, correct. So usually with food trucks, from what I learned from Sergio actually, was he kind of switches around in terms of where he is for the day, based on where traffic is, right? Usually he hits up the financial district on Mondays and Wednesdays, because that's where he's able to make the most revenue for the day, because it's extremely busy. People are in the lunch breaks. But as as the day dwindles and kind of, it's also weather dependent whether they're open or not, because if it's raining, no one's going to be leaving their house to go get food, right? So it's super dependent on weather, especially considering, in Chicago, it snows 6 months out of the year. So, where you're going to be parked is super, super crucial. It snowed in May. So it's super crucial, as to where you're going to be parked, for lack of better words. But that's also the cool part about it, is because you get to explore a different part of the neighborhood, and you kind of, the food travels with you, right? So it's kind of like cultural diffusion of food in that aspect.
Okay. So Darsh, I'm so glad you did your homework. I have a special surprise for you today.
Ooh, super exciting.
Yeah, surprise. So one of the things that I've shared with each mentee when they signed up for this opportunity was that I promised that I would find a person who is either a coach or who is already living your dream. And so, Darsh, we're going to start with you because we found someone who is living their dream. And if you have your iPhone, and if you
Yeah.
want to say, "Hey Siri,
Hey
what's
Siri.
the number one nutritional restaurant in Jamaica, New York?" This woman's restaurant pops up. The highest rated one I see is the Nourish Spot on Guide. She's telling me this right now. I'm going to ask that question again because it's just the one you're looking for. Yes, that is Siri. That's the one I'm looking for. I'm going to ask it again, okay? Hey Siri, what's the highest rated health food restaurant in Jamaica, New York? Number one nutritional. Hey Siri, what's the number one nutritional restaurant in Jamaica, New York?
It's actually the best restaurant in Jamaica, New York.
The Nourish Spot's number one. So we have the number one rated restaurant, health food restaurant here with us today via Jamaica, New York. Her name is Dawn Kelly. Let's give it up for Dawn. Yay, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I hear you loud and clear.
So Dawn actually was a corporate executive at a major brand, just like you are, Dar, right?
Yeah.
She's an executive at a brand, and she wanted to have her own business, but Dawn didn't have the chutzpah to kind of jump out there on her own. It wasn't until after her company had a layoff that she found herself faced with what she was going to do next. And she had always dreamed of owning a juice bar. And fast forward, that was like a very short 2 years ago, I think, Dawn, two and a half years ago. And now she's the number one restaurant that Siri is pointing you to. So your dream can come true, Darsh. I want you to spend a few minutes having a conversation with Dawn. Dawn, if you could share with us anything that you think Darsh should know going into this, jumping in, both feet forward. And if you guys could just spend like maybe the next 4 or 5 minutes talking about things that you need to overcome or understand to be a fast food restaurant owner, or a Nourish Spot restaurant owner, or a food truck restaurant owner. I'm going to let you two have a conversation with each other.
Okay. Well, hi, Darsh, and congratulations to you for jumping out on faith to try and establish your business. I'm Dawn Kelly. As Cheryl said, I'm the CEO of the Nourish Spot. It's a healthy food and beverage haven. We're a brick and mortar S Corp in Jamaica, Queens. We established ourselves actually in March of 2016 when we filed the papers to become a trademarked company. And then it took a little more than 18 months to find a space to do the build out and to actually get all the permits and licenses that we needed in order to open our doors to people. I would tell you that I, like you, thought that it would be done much quicker. But there were a bunch of obstacles and pitfalls, including working with contractors. And you may not have that issue because I learned that you are interested in doing a food truck. So you may not have as many of those issues that I had in terms of a contractor, but you will have some challenges surrounding licensing and health and sanitary needs of a food truck. You'll still go through the same thing. Some of the people that you talk to, I'm sure their restaurants may differ in size. It may differ in their menu and what they're offering. We spent, well, when I say we, I'm a family-owned business. I'm in business with my 2 children. We spent a little more than $75K just to open up the business. And I did not get any loans. I actually funded the business by myself. Um, because I had saved a lot working at a financial services firm and as an executive when my job was eliminated. I actually got a sizable severance package, so I used that money to fund the actual dream of the Nourish Spot. And I'm just gonna change one little thing. I actually did have dreams of opening my own business, but it was a public relations and marketing business. I tell you honestly, I never thought that I would open up a juice bar, but because I had worked so many years in the financial services industry, I gained a lot of weight. And I was trying to lose the weight, and I started juicing before my job was eliminated. And it's just so funny how life works. I end up opening up a juice bar. So here's a couple of questions that Cheryl had asked me. How much on average does it cost to run the business with staff, business, and other expenses? It's a little more than about $5,000, and that's maybe per quarter, with staff salaries, with paying light and gas and water bills, because when you have a juice bar, you use a lot of water, you lose a lot of ice. So about $5,000, a little or more per quarter. Um, uh, in addition, the reason I think that Siri is now counting us as one of the best restaurants in Jamaica, Queens, is because we've been lucky, and I don't even want to say lucky. I'll say blessed to earn 5-star ratings from our customers on the food options and the satisfactory nature of the products that they receive from us, whether they walk in, dine in, or get food delivered from the food delivery applications. I won't name them today. So that's one of the reasons I think that we've been able to get this type of, I guess, notoriety, if you will, from Siri. And another thing, if I was starting over today, what would be one thing I wish someone had told me about starting a restaurant? Well, one would be, I think you're ahead of the game in having a mock-up of a business plan. I didn't have one, sweetie. I jumped in with both feet and just tried to make it work. But since then, I've gone to the SBA, the SBDC in my area. I've gone to New York City small business development centers, all of the organizations that are in your city as well, that are designed and set up to provide resources and information to help you not only start up a business, but to successfully run it. And one of the things I think that I would have learned earlier is pricing strategy, because that is the one important thing that I think that you should know from the outset. What's the right price to price your food options so that profitability will begin in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, and honestly, you know what the funniest thing is? I'm from New York City before I moved, and my mom's actually been to your restaurant, and it's funny. Yay! It's so funny how life works. Oh, this is perfect. Yeah, no, the place is great, but that's so funny. No, and I think for me, I completely agree with you, right? I feel like, especially with living in large cities, whether it be, where we are in Chicago or even in New York, obviously location matters, especially with what you're pricing your items at, yes. And kind of like the amount of product they're getting for that, because I think portions matter too. Yes. Right. So I think that's super interesting that you'd mentioned that, because I think that's something that I'm considering as well, because you go to these restaurants and it's like a small plate of food and it's like $30 and you're like, I'm still hungry.
Exactly.
So completely understand that on your end. I think for me, the SBA wasn't something that I had considered kind of being a part of, or even like a networking group of sorts, especially for small business owners. And I think people are kind of moving more into that as well, because everyone's shopping local and they want to support people in their community. Yes. So that's definitely something that I'm gonna look into as well. But out of curiosity, so you'd mentioned that you wanted to open up a marketing agency, and you pivoted and you're like, no, this is something that I'm super passionate about. I'm going to open up a juice bar. So is that something, I guess, that motivates you when, I guess, you're like, everything's not going your way, and you're like, why did I get started in the first place?
Yes. So I'm motivated by the fact that I'm helping people get healthy. I'm motivated by the opportunity to put Black and brown children to work in my community. Many of the young people that come through the Nourish Spot that work for me come through internship programs that are attached to the area programs or the high schools. In addition, I'm motivated by the fact that I'm a single mom, and I'm trying to establish a legacy for my two children, so that when I'm no longer here, they have a business. I think about this: if McDonald's can do it and Starbucks can do it, why not us?
Right.
Why not us? Right.
Right.
The other thing I wanted to tell you, back to about the store, we sell a lot of the things that I have found since opening that are in some of the medicines that we all are taking, the pharmaceuticals like ginger and wheatgrass and turmeric.
Right.
Or we give it to you in a raw form and it goes straight into your system. So I think it's just important for us to do the research. So that's the other thing. You have to do the research, and you have to find out in your community what's missing, and what the people need and what they're willing to pay for. And once you find that information out, then you do your best to provide it.
Right.
Thank you, Dawn. Oh my gosh, this is such great insight. I love that you were so honest and transparent about it. Darsh, I hope this was helpful. I will give you Dawn's direct contact information so you guys can talk directly. Dawn is very modest. She's won many awards since she's opened up. She has become a coach in her own right to others. And she just did an event for Kanye West at the Lincoln Center in New York.
That's amazing.
So, huge. And we're really, really thrilled to have you on board with us, Dawn. Thank you for talking to Darsh. Darsh, your homework assignment, based on what I've heard today, is I think it's two things. One is to find a meetup group here in Chicago, a restaurant meetup group that you can join. And those are great opportunities to kind of network.
Right.
And the second is to start thinking about your pricing structure.
Cool.
Okay. So thank you again, Dawn, for joining us. Thrilled that you were able to participate, and you've got your marching orders, Darsh. So we're now going to go on to Jacqueline. Jacqueline has already worked a wonderful career, and as you'll see here from the pop-up, she started and grew an interest in photojournalism and was recruited. We learned on our last episode, she was recruited to come to Columbia College here in Chicago to major in photojournalism. So her Pink Elephant goal is to land a photojournalist job by September 2020. That is 5 months after she graduates from Columbia College. And her homework assignment was to ensure that her resume is inclusive of dates and that it reads like a proper resume. And she was also assigned the task of calling at least 2 prospective employers and asking what they would need from her if she were to come in and interview with them. And so, Jacqueline.
Okay, this past weekend, I was in the South Carolina primary, and I was surrounded by journalists from everywhere, from BBC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and I was able to talk to them and find out what it took for them to get into the business, out of college. And of course, it was definitely, like you said, definitely changing the things on my resume to reflect my experience. Because even though I've been afraid of my age being an issue, actually, my experience is to my advantage. And so that really helps. The other thing is all of my experience and posting links to articles that I've done, pictures, and then also posting my short documentary that shows I am a well-rounded visual visual journalist is what helps too.
So a weakness or an area that you thought was going to be a weakness is not a weakness. It's actually a strength for you.
Yes.
Which is wonderful.
Yes.
And so, Jacqueline, you literally, I don't know if people caught this, but she just said that she literally just spent time in South Carolina with all of the photojournalists who are already doing this for a living. Was there any one person that you connected with that you can have follow-up conversations with?
Yeah, actually, Bob Shear, who has been a photojournalist with the Indy Star for 18 years. And he's also had worked with my professors because I was there for the primary in the Iowa caucus for my journalism 405 class, which is covering politics. And they had worked with Bob before, but Bob has been at the Indy Star for 18 years. I am able to have conversations with him, so that's definitely going to help.
Okay, so what are they telling you you need to prepare when it's time for you to go into an interview? Is it just what you're doing now? Is there anything special that you need to prepare for these interviews?
It is what I'm doing now, which is everything that I do at the Chronicle. There is a running tally of everything I do. So when I put up that link to me as a photojournalist, there's everything there. Then I also have the Portfolio website, which also has the link to my short documentary that I did, which was part of my senior capstone project.
So they're telling you you're on the right track, correct?
Yep, I'm on the right track.
And so how do you, or who do you talk to when you're ready to actually do an interview? Do they do recruiting for this? Is it an HR professional that you should be identifying or aligning your connections with, your network with? What is it?
It's definitely HR, and also connecting directly to the photo desk editors at different organizations.
So do you have a list of all of the photo editors at all of the organizations?
So far, I have about 5 from the dream companies that I want to work for. So I just have to keep building on that list because competition is tough. And I'm also finding out where you think you want to end up may not be where it's meant to be.
How so?
Because Bob actually landed the job at the Indy Star, and he thought he was going to go back to California. And 18 years later, he's still there.
Okay. I love that, because when I started out, I had planned to move from Fort Wayne, Indiana, where I was born and raised, to New York. And I made a pit stop in Chicago right after college. And I never wanted to leave. So, sometimes life throws you a curveball, and when you lean into it, it actually works out for your good. So I'm glad that he shared that information with you. So here's your homework assignment. There are a couple of things.
Okay.
Number one is you say you have 5 photo editors listed for your dream companies.
Yep.
I need you to magnify that by 5. So you
Okay.
need with a list of 25 photo editors so that you have their names. Because
Okay.
you assume that for every 5 you send out, maybe you'll get an interview with maybe 1.
Okay.
Right? So you need
Yep.
to improve your odds by adding on the list of photo editors that you have actual direct information from. That's the first
Okay.
thing. Okay. The second part of your homework assignment is, so when you were in South Carolina and you tagged me in one of your posts, one of your social media posts, that made me go to your social media pages. And I'm not getting a sense of your photojournalism from your social media pages.
Okay.
A couple of them, I can see it. Like if I scroll down and down and down, but you're a photojournalist. And I need to be able to see that from your brand. So here's a pink couch tip for you guys is your brand has to be reflected in all areas of your life, but it especially has to be reflected in your social media life.
Okay.
One of the things that I saw on your page, Jacqueline, was you did a photo of soy sauce. I happen to love soy sauce. And not only did you take a picture of a packet of soy sauce, but you gave us the history of soy sauce, which I had no idea how it was made, why it was made, and it was really very interesting. So in addition to seeing a great photo of soy sauce, I learned something. And I think that you can use your social media platform to better educate people about everyday things or just taking pictures of everyday products in your everyday life so that it doesn't have to be something that you have to go out of your way from. But I would love to see the world through your lens. Literally, no
Okay.
pun intended, right? So I would love it if you could post at least 3 to 4 times a week a photo that you've taken. And I
Okay.
also need you to brand it so that if I share it with someone, it's got the Jacqueline Luttrell brand on it.
Okay.
Okay. And I noticed that I think you've done that on a couple like a while back. I just need you to do that more regularly. So at least for the next 2 weeks, your assignment is to make sure you're posting on your social media platforms your photos, because I noticed that you do a lot, and this is great too, that you do a lot of placement of news stories and things that are happening right now that are relevant. That's great, but I want to see your work and I want to see it branded. So when I share it, and like I did with the soy sauce, I shared it, and I was like, "This was one of my mentees." What the story is about soy sauce? It was because was it Asian in the Asian community back
Yes.
then? Tell the story. I'll let you tell it.
Okay. Man, I gotta go back to the assignment because it was actually for a class.
And that's when I noticed that you were posting those because it would say hashtag assignment. And so it can't just be a class for you, Jacqueline. It's got to become a way of life, right?
Gotcha.
We need to see you. We need to see your images. But I think what you said was salt was like hard to come across or whatever. And so
What it was, salt was scarce and expensive at the time, and the method to extend salt was discovered by fermenting it with soybeans and fish to produce koji.
who knew that? You taught me something on your social media platform. Not every single post that you do has to be that in depth, but it was interesting to me, and it would make me remember you.
Okay.
So I need you to do that, okay?
And you know what? That definitely makes sense. I think I've been lately caught up in the cycle of fighting the constant barrage of journalists and photojournalists being labeled as fake news and enemy of the people. So I have been working really hard to post news that is relevant, that is not biased, and just fighting that stigma and just trying to keep the truth out there. And that's something I've been working really hard on, which unfortunately has led to me really slacking on posting my pictures. So yes, that definitely makes sense.
Okay, good. So we're going to see more of your work come March 22nd when we come back for episode 3.
Yes.
And you're going to come back with a list of a total of 20 photo editors.
25.
25.
Yep.
And thank you for correcting me. And we just want to make sure you're ready when it's time to go out and get this job, because we're rooting for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Okay, next up, we've got Miley, currently working at an organization, and she is aspiring to be a vice president. She's been at this organization for about 3 years, right, Miley? And her homework assignment was to find someone that she could delegate the in the weeds work to. She was responsible for devoting 1 hour each workday toward conceiving a big picture initiative that can help reposition her as a visionary leader versus a worker bee. Now, Miley was a little hesitant to try this, but Miley, did you do your homework assignment?
I did. I did do it. It I think rolled out a bit differently. Perhaps than, a set hour on each day at a set time. But I did complete the assignment.
And tell me about it. What did you learn from doing it?
I think, there's just a lot of definitions and work types and sort of responsibilities for the role in sort of like a VP role of community affairs or, CSR work. And I found that some of the jobs are more like operational, or they're more like business, like the implications of CSR on business, and more sort of like an analysis lens. And I think, in looking at the broad range, it reinforced where I want to be involved in this space, like that I want to be more around community and bringing people together and building communities and supporting community, I guess, engagement or coming together, the relationship the organization has with the community. So that it helped me, like, doing some research around that to really narrow in on my focus. And that it ends up being more like community relations driven and less around like the operational pieces of how you can work in CSR, corporate social responsibility. Does that make sense? I learned a lot about that.
So you want to be connected with people, it sounds as if, because you want to work with a nonprofit organization, or did you also see that there are corporations that are doing some pretty, I've got community affairs as my background, and I do some pretty cool work for a corporation. So, did you find any corporations, or is it all pretty much nonprofit oriented that you want to work on?
No, I found corporations, and I think, I really like nonprofit work, but I think one of the things we talked about last time was being a do-gooder with resources. And I have had the ability to dabble in sort of what that looks like on the corporate side. And again, it's the corporate space is a place where I think you do have more resources to be able to do some pretty cool stuff with. And it's not to say that you can't do it in nonprofit. The scalability and the funding is just harder to come by. But, I think, it's possible. But I'm also open to how this might look on a corporate scale.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is you could go back to corporate, or you could lean toward staying in nonprofit. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. How about we do this? How about you make a list of 10 companies that you could go work for, that you would feel in your heart, right? A dream list. If you could make a dream list, 5 corporations, 5 non-for-profit organizations. Because I will say that national nonprofit organizations, they have the budget and the bandwidth to give you what you want. So if you're looking at staying in Chicago, because I believe during one of our previous conversations, the desire was to stay in Chicago, right?
Yes.
So there are some national nonprofit organizations who have chapters here, who may have the bandwidth that you're looking for, and there are also some national companies that are headquartered here. So if your desire is to stay in this market, I would encourage you to find 5 and 5 of each here in the Chicago area that would be like your dream company.
Okay.
Now, but have you stepped out of the weeds at work?
Well, the good news is I've become more aware around opportunities for me to step back. And I've also verbalized in a couple of different ways the need to be able to allow myself to have the time and the space to do the higher level thinking and planning, and admitting, being more intentional and having it sort of at the center of my thinking that that I need to organize my structure or my team or myself and my work to get out of the weeds. So there's been a couple times where I've said it, and I think it might seem kind of small, but it was intentional, and it's just brought the need for this more front and center, which I didn't recognize before. I felt it, but I didn't recognize it, and I wasn't intentional about removing myself. So I've made strides.
You made strides. So if you had to say yes or you had to say no, because it's a yes or no question, would you say that you have stepped out of the weeds? And be honest, if you haven't fully, because it's only been 2 weeks.
Yes,
okay.
To some extent.
To some extent. All right, so I need you to practice on that a little bit more this week, so that next week when I ask you the question, it's a yes, Cheryl, I've stepped out of the weeds. I want you to get out of the weeds so that you can grow where you are, in addition to looking at where you can possibly grow outside of your organization, okay?
Yeah.
Because we want you to do that. Because we're still working on, if you recall, we're still working on you doing a big initiative that you can deliver to your executive director or CEO or head of your organization there, that will have them thinking of you as a visionary, right?
Right.
So dream big. Think of those companies and nonprofit organizations, Chicago-based, and come back next week. And we're going to be able to say yes, you because then you will have had 4 weeks to get out of the weeds. I don't want you to stop taking time out for yourself every day, you guys. All right. And this is, one of Cheryl's Pink Couch tips is you need to spend some time every day working on your dream. Like, don't get so caught up in the day-to-day world. And this is to all of the people who are joining us as viewers as well. Make sure you spend a little bit of time, take a small bite every single day at achieving your dream, getting a little bit closer to your dream. Thanks, Miley.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up we have Rebecca. Rebecca is in the throes of a transition. She's looking for a a job after being laid off unexpectedly about 18 months ago. She has been on she's applied for 40 positions and been on 20 interviews. So what we know about Rebecca is Rebecca's resume is getting her in the door, but we also know that she is working to land and seal the deal. Rebecca, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm just excited about the work that you guys are doing. So, Rebecca,
It is
your
exciting.
thank you. Your pink elephant is to secure a comparable position in status, responsibility, and salary to the position that you held prior to being laid off in 2018. And your homework assignment was to list out interview questions you could remember being asked and to record yourself answering those questions. And you were also assigned with splitting your resume, which was really great, but it was a little bit intimidating because you have so many different things on it that we wanted you
Yeah.
to focus 3 separate resumes on 3 individual like roles, a little bit more specialized than a total generalized, right? So Rebecca,
Right.
I assume you did your homework assignment because you sent me your resumes on Thursday. But what
I
did you
did.
learn from this experience?
So I will say of both of the assignments, the resume thing was the most daunting. Why was it the most daunting? The most daunting because I've had so much, and I feel like, everything is important, and I don't want to necessarily shortchange myself. And so a lot of my experience is basically under this one umbrella, if you will, of my diversity and inclusion work that I've done. But that's not necessarily a skill, right? The skill is the social media, the writing of the speeches, the actual strategy behind everything. So it was a little bit challenging for me to figure out where to put all of that stuff. And I remember when I was actually going through undergrad, it was kind of, my professors used to say, put yourself in one bucket. Like, you've got to like focus on one thing and just do that one thing. But once I got to grad school and the nature of how people get information and the nature of how the marketing communications world has changed, everything is integrated. So now the information and the charge was to, focus on this, focus on that, dabble in this, dabble in that, so it's definitely beneficial, I think. And I definitely call myself a hybrid communicator, but I would say that the resume portion of it has definitely been the challenge, because I want to put everything on there, and then it's like I don't know which one to separate. So that was the hardest. That really was the hardest
Okay.
assignment.
Okay. So I have it. I have to look at it for you
Mm-hmm.
and examine it. Um, and I will give you that feedback. What about your questions that you recorded yourself? How are you coming across to you in an interview?
I think I'm coming across to be great.
I think you probably think you are.
No, but that was also an eye-opening. It was also an eye-opening experience. I thought I did well, and I did what you said. I did write the questions down, but I did not write my answers. And I stood up and just to make sure, I was being great at enunciating. And then I also made sure to pace myself as well, because I know sometimes I do get excited and talk very fast, and wanted to make sure that I was clear and articulate. So I was really, I think, being very careful of what I was trying to say. But it also made me feel just a tad bit uncomfortable, because I also felt like I wasn't myself. and just really just concentrating on what I was saying. But it definitely was an eye-opening exercise for sure. Honestly, I started coughing in the middle a little bit, so I'm sorry about that. But I kept it going because I felt like this is a real simulation, as if I was in an interview. And some of the questions, just to share with everyone, do you want me to share some of the questions that I'm getting? I guess that would be helpful. Yeah. So some of the questions, I know a lot of people kind of start the interview off with, tell us about yourself. So I do realize that question is so open-ended. It can be so long-winded at times. It definitely can get a bit long-winded. So I think another question too as well, then you start to kind of get into the thought questions. And one of the questions that I got, which was a little bit, I guess, surprising, one question an employer asked me, when was a time where you had to disagree with a team member? And did you go along with that team member, or did you stick to your guns? And that actually, I was like, wow, that's really, and I think they were really looking for, kind of looking at how are you with integrity, how are you with your passions, and how do you handle conflict resolution?
Yeah.
And so
which happens on the job, by the way.
Exactly. So I did appreciate that question, because actually there was a time where I did have to go against someone that was very senior than I was, but I laid out all of the reasoning why I thought it should be that way. And at the end of the day, I didn't win and I wasn't the victor, but I walked away and was very confident with myself that I was very true to a passionate subject of what I was working on. So it was definitely a good exercise, and to actually play it back and to hear yourself, that's also something that's like, oh my goodness. But it really was a good exercise. I actually enjoyed that one more than the resume. To be honest.
You enjoyed listening to your answers than you did reshaping your resume. I encourage anyone listening who is in the process of interviewing, Maya, that's going to include you too. It is really great to listen to yourself talk.
It is.
Pay attention to your tonation. Pay attention to how positive you are. All of that. So if you can record using your iPhone or using your smartphone, record your answers to interview questions. And also make sure that when they say, so tell me about yourself, you don't start off like one woman I had who I mentored once, and I asked her that question. She said, well, I'm a Gemini, and then she went on to tell me that when I asked her, like, tell me one important thing that you've accomplished. Well, I cleaned out my closet because I'd recently lost a lot of weight, and I cleaned out my closet. And I'm like, that's not what I mean when I say, tell me about yourself.
Right.
When I ask that question, tell me about yourself, people, when you get that question, what they want is they want insight into how you can help their company. Right. And so, Rebecca, I know you're not going in sharing that you clean out your closet.
No, no, I'm not doing that.
But
I never did that. Thank goodness.
That you're very, very streamlined with your answers. And the best way to get streamlined and ensuring that you're answering those questions, you guys, is tape yourself. Tape yourself before you're asked that question. Rebecca, before I forget, your homework assignment is to identify 10 dream companies that you'd like to work for, because we're going to see if we can get you into one of those companies. This is Maya. Maya's our newbie. She just graduated. Hi, Maya.
Hi, Cheryl.
She graduated in May.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we're coming up on a year.
Yes, ma'am.
And she is looking at getting her first job out of college, her first professional job, and securing a $50,000 a year salary by June 2020. And her homework assignment was she had a typo in her resume. Typos are the death of you guys. The death. So she was supposed to find her typo. Did you find it?
I found it. I found it minutes after we finished 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so she found it right away. have someone else read over your resume if you haven't done that, because sometimes your brain sees what it expects to see because you've been writing this. So have someone else read your resume over. And then you were supposed to update your experience to reflect your recent promotions and to make your resume accomplishment and metrics based versus responsibilities based. So did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you send it to me?
I did not.
Okay, y'all. So let me just say this. Like, if your boss asks you for something, and in this instance, I'm your boss.
Yes, ma'am.
But if your boss asks you for something, she shouldn't have to come and ask you to get it once you've completed it. Because how would I know you've completed it if you don't send it to me?
Yes.
Now, Rebecca had an assignment that was supposed to be sent in. Rebecca got hers on Thursday. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I just need you to understand what's expected of you when you go into the work world.
Yes.
So if I ask you for something, you have to send it to me. I know that you did it, but how would I know that until we're sitting on the couch and you tell me that you did it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So can you tell me what you learned from your experience from your homework assignment of redoing your resume?
I think one thing that I learned was the importance of updating it as you go, because it was a lot harder to do it and like reflect back on, oh, well, what was my job like a year ago, and what was I doing, and what were the accomplishments that I had, as opposed to if I had done it like as they happened and like as things occurred.
Okay, that's good to know. So that's actually, I'm glad you said that, because this is Cheryl's pink couch tip for you all, is to start an I've done good file folder. So what goes in your I've done good every single time at your part-time job that you've been working until you get your full-time job, although at your part-time job you've been promoted 3 times. 3 times, people, she's been promoted 3 times. But at that part-time job, you need to, every time they're seeing something in you which has caused them to promote you.
Yes.
So make sure that as you go along, whenever that happens, and you people who are tuning in today as well, make sure that you keep that I've done good file folder. And every time something good is said about you or you've accomplished it, make sure you go ahead and put it in that folder. That way, when it's time to update your resume, or for those of you who aren't looking for a job, but you have performance evaluations, right? Your performance evaluations, these will be really, really helpful for you during those period of times when you have to like come back and share with someone all the great work that you've done.
Yes, ma'am.
So the I've done good file. I guess my next question is, do you feel any closer to reaching your pink elephant goal yet?
I think I feel a lot closer. One, because obviously now my resume is updated and I feel like it more accurately reflects what I'm able to do in the workplace. So I think that that's probably, hopefully, going to increase the number of interviews that I get when I put in applications. I also feel closer because I feel like it helped me understand and like reflect back on things that I enjoy about my current job and things that like I want to have long term.
Okay. Things, so what you're looking for.
Yes, ma'am.
Which I'm glad you said that too, because here's another Cheryl's pink couch tip. When you're interviewing for a job, you should be interviewing the interviewer as well as having them interview you. This is important if you're looking for a job, you guys. You have to feel comfortable with that environment that you're interviewing, right? If you feel uncomfortable in the environment with the person you're interviewing with, imagine coming to work for that person every single day or for that company.
Yes, ma'am.
So tune into, and I know a lot of these interviews happen over the phone, right? Because a lot of yours are over the phone.
Yes, I think I've had two in-person.
2 in-person interviews.
Yes.
So you can also get a sense if you're interviewing with one of these major corporations and it's so impersonal that they never give you a chance for a one-on-one interview, you can imagine they're not going to be really personal with you when you're on site, right? So if you're fine with that, some people are fine with having, pay no attention to the man behind the screen, like the Wizard of Oz. Some people are okay with that. But if that's not the kind of environment you want, be mindful of it. And don't just accept the first job that comes your way just because they offered you a job, right? The other thing is you have gotten a job offer.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the things that we talked about too was being able to negotiate.
Yes.
So were you able to negotiate salary?
No.
Because you're with one of those companies that it's like, this is the way we do it, dun 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 dun, dun, right? So if you can't negotiate salary, were you able to negotiate something else?
I was able to negotiate my start date and my location.
And your location. So that's kind of huge because they were trying to send you like 2-3 hours away.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're only going to be like 40 minutes away.
Yes.
So it's a commute versus what do you call it when you have to move to another place? Relocation.
Yes.
Okay. So so Maya, your homework now that you've got this updated, your resume updated, is to send it to me. Number one. And then I need you to send it to 10 companies.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
I need you to find 10 companies to apply for because now you've got experience on your resume that wasn't there before, and people may look at you through a different lens. So
Yes,
for the next, week and a half, 2 weeks, send it out to 10 companies.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to want a list of the 10 companies. So just so you know what my expectations are, send me that by Thursday before the 22nd.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when we'll meet back here again. So you guys, I'm sorry we're 7 minutes over, but I thought it was really important to have these conversations with these 5 fabulous women. You can find their stories and profiles on powerfulpenny.com. I will also update this recording to powerfulpenny.com, and as well as YouTube, and the YouTube channel is Live from the Pink Couch YouTube. I still don't see any questions coming through, so I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or you guys just don't have any questions. But if you do have any questions, follow me on LinkedIn, Cheryl Grace, and put your questions, DM me your questions, and I'll take your questions and ask them on this broadcast as well. So I want to say thanks again. This has been a Powerful Penny LLC Pink Elephant production, and we will see you on March 22nd when we'll be back live from the Pink Couch. Bye.
Check out the full Live from the Pink Couch web series and keep up with all 5 mentees' progress on powerfulpenny.com. This has been a Powerful Penny LLC Pink Elephant production.